what's up?
I keep hearing politicians talking about the possibility of making cuts to Medicaid. That really worries me because I have community supports and home supports that I receive through Medicaid that not only has it helped me live in my own apartment, but also have helped me become more involved in my community. I don't want to lose that.
I know what you mean. I receive services like that myself. And sometimes it feels like whenever there's talk about cuts to services, it affects groups like people with disabilities or the elderly.
Yeah, I think politicians try to focus on what's going to be good for the most people. But just because we have disabilities or somebody is elderly doesn't mean that we shouldn't have full lives too.
Well, there are things we can do to advocate for our rights.
Yep, like voting for the people you would like to see in office.
I have had friends say to me, "Does my one vote even matter?" It sure does. I look at it this way. People throughout history have fought for, been put in jail, and died for the right to vote in the United States. Even though people can choose to vote or not.
And having the freedom to choose is important.
Absolutely. But I just feel like I owe it to the people who fought for the right to vote myself.
Did you know that women couldn't vote in the United States until 1920? And even though African American women also had the right to vote after that, African American women and men were still denied the right to vote in many places. They kept fighting for their rights. And in 1965, a law was passed called the Civil Rights Act of 1965. One of the things it did was made sure that African Americans couldn't be denied the right to vote.
And those happened not that long ago. People suffered and died for the right to vote. And that's why it's really important to me.
Some people with disabilities think that if they are under guardianship, they are not allowed to vote. And that's not true.
You're right. Even if someone is under guardianship, they still have the right to vote, as long as they are at least 18 years old. A great place to get answers to questions on voting rights is Disabilities Rights Maine. Their number is 1-800-452-1948. They also have information they can send to you.
Awesome. What other kinds of advocacy can people do?
You can write a letter, call, or send an email to your senators and representatives, either the ones who work for the Maine State Senate or Maine House of Representatives, or the ones who represent Maine but work in Washington, D.C.
How can people find out who to contact if they are not sure?
If you call the Maine Developmental Disabilities Council at 1-800-244-3990, they can help you find out who to contact.
When I have contacted my representatives and senators, I let them know how a law or policy will affect me, whether positively or negatively.
That is so important. Senators and representatives work for all people in their town or state, whether you personally voted for them or not. When an issue comes up that is important to you, like Medicaid cuts, letting them know how it would affect you can help them decide. It's also a way for you to make a difference.
Yeah, I can let them know how programs I get through Medicaid funding have helped me live on my own and have an active life.
You sure can. You might even help them think of the Medicaid issue in a way they haven't thought of before.
I think it's important to say that politicians are going to make decisions that you agree with, and sometimes they are going to make decisions that you don't agree with.
That's true. If a decision is made or a law is passed that you don't agree with, it's okay to feel upset. But don't give up. Because if enough people feel the same way that you do, a decision or law might be able to be changed.
I think it's also important to say that advocacy in any form, whether it be advocating politically or advocating for yourself, can take a lot of energy. There are days when I have the energy to advocate and days I don't. On the days I do the best I can. And on the days I don't, I make sure to take care of myself.
I'm glad you talked about that because it's not something that a lot of people think about.
Thanks for talking with me. It made me feel better.
Me too. What are friends for?
Would you help me write an email about how Medicaid cuts will affect me?
Sure.